Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Clutch Talk podcast /YouTube/ We Do It All. As always, we got my brother Junior, man. How you doing, Junior?
Doing good. How's everybody doing out there?
We're doing good,
No
man. And
response from anyone? Okay.
we doing good, man. We real excited today. We got it. We got our second official guest. We got my guy AJ in the building, man. We got AJ is works with athletes, is works with sports medicine, man. Is big into basketball. Watches all the league, man. You see his jacket he got on, Team USA jacket, man. So go ahead, AJ. Introduce yourself to the people and tell them a little bit about yourself.
All right, my name's AJ, y'all. I'm basically a student right now. I work in sports medicine, but my passion has always been basketball. You know, I played in high school, I play in college, and my dream is to work with athletes. And I'm always in tune with the league, always watching all the games, keeping up to date. So, yeah,
definitely. We excited to have you on, AJ. So today, y'all. So we got a real special episode for y'all, man. We basically doing a prediction, man, of the Western Conference from seeds 1 through 15. We're gonna start at seedings 15. And you know what, man? Like as I was making this list, I was like, man, the West is packed. The West is packed. Like there were some teams who could have been like a top 5 seeds in the East who almost didn't make the playoffs for me, man. So I'm excited to hear what both of you guys have. You know, I've been looking forward to this all week. So without further ado, man, y'all ready to jump into this?
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, man. So we're gonna kick it off with the 15th seed, man. So who I got for the 15th seed is the Oklahoma City Thunder, man, which is crazy because just last year they were the 5th seed. And you know, I know they traded away all their pieces, and now they're just in total rebuild mode. You know, and all what they're doing right now is what I think they should do is just give Shai and Darius Bazley like 30 shots a game. Like let them make all the mistakes in the world, let them learn, let them mess up, let them miss shots, miss layups, do it all, so they can learn and become stars. They're both young, have a lot of potential. And I know Junior loves Dort. You know what I'm saying?
He's nice.
I think Dort is cool, but you know, to be honest, I think his offense is very limited. Like I really don't see him being much more than a defensive role player in this league. So which is why I got the Thunder in the 15th seed. Who you guys had in the 15th?
I got the Thunder as well. I honestly, and it's kind of crazy because last year I also had them on number 15 where they had just gotten Chris Paul, and I'm like, they don't have any chemistry. It's not going to work. And then they ended up in 5th, right? So who knows what's going to happen this year again. But again, it's the same thing I said last year. You know, they don't got a roster, in my opinion, not really that many good players aside from Luke Jordan, SGA. I mean, Horford's just out there collecting checks pretty much. He's put up 11.7 rebounds. SGA is nice, though. He's at 22 points a game, but they probably need like 3 SGAs to make the playoffs in the West. And like I said this last year, so we're going to have to see. But I think Oklahoma City Thunder and 2 more teams, they're in that like just the last tier. Because like you said, it's just so tough to pick teams in the West that I try to almost tier them. Right, and I think that OKC, I put them in 15th, but they're in that last tier. They could probably go anywhere between from 13th to 15th, but I got them last. What about you, AJ?
For me, I have the Timberwolves. Actually, I have the Timberwolves. It's another young team that I think there's chemistry issues as well. I think it's nice that they got the number 1 pick with Anthony Edwards. He's showing out. He's doing his thing. But I think also for this little stretch of time, Cat's out as well. I think Cat can only do so much. Even with D'Lo, even with Anthony Edwards, I think Timberwolves will be 15th in the conference. That's my opinion. But I also agree that Thunder is also like they were right there. It was either between the Thunder or the Timberwolves, both super young teams. But I'm going with the Timberwolves.
I'm surprised you have the Timberwolves this low, to be honest, because like I think that they're definitely not a playoff team in the West. But I think that, you know, they have some stars in D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards. There's an emerging star, and obviously Karl Anthony Towns. I feel like OKC's got nobody, just SGA, but I don't think SGA is as good as any of those players. I mean, better than Anthony Edwards, but, you know, we'll have to see.
I think it shows how valuable Chris Paul is.
Yeah,
I think
that's for sure.
He could turn any team to a playoff contender for sure.
Yeah, and I doubted that last year. I doubted that. This year, I'm not making a mistake. I think Phoenix is a good team this year. So, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. Who you got at 14, John?
All right, so moving on to the 14th seed, man. I got the Sacramento Kings, man. And let me say one thing: if Luke Walton leaves, their playoff chances just highly increase. Like they could maybe be like a top 10 seed at least if Luke Walton leaves, man. Luke Walton is running a half-court set with the fastest player in the NBA. Like, what is he doing? You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think that the Kings are gonna either get the 14th seed or even the 15th seed if Luke Walton stays for the whole season. Because if you look at it, their team really isn't terrible. You know, they got Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, Hassan Whiteside, De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley. So like they got to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? And I know De'Aaron Fox just got paid over this offseason. So I think it's time for a coaching switch because the players are there, the talent is there to be better than the 14th or 15th seed. But that's who I went with the 14th seed. Who'd you guys go for the 14th?
I got Kings at 14 as well. I mean, they added Whiteside, but they continue to not be good. You know, Whiteside's a good player. He's iffy, but he's a good player. But they continue to not be good. And honestly, man, I think Kings, like just the Kings front office and the Kings fans, you just start getting worried because De'Aaron Fox might be running out of patience, man. Like, and if he does, the Kings are doomed. Honestly, like, I mean, I don't think he's been as solid as he's been in the past. So maybe he doesn't have as much room to complain or to get as comfortable. You know, he's at 19 points, 5 assists, and 1 steal, which I think is not quite where he needs to be. You know, I think a 19 points per game player is not someone who should be making demands. But the Kings are that bad, you know. And Whiteside though has been just puzzling. 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 block per game. And it's not who he used to be at all, you know. Maybe that's why he fell so much in the free agent market. But same thing, you know. Luke Walton is another big factor. I'm not sure. I don't know how he still has a job coaching. To be very honest with you, because and it's funny too because remember when he was back up to Steve Kerr. Everyone was like, "Oh, he's this kid genius," and I'm like, "Bro, look at that Warriors team. Anybody can coach that Warriors team, right?" But and he got exposed on the Lakers, and he's getting exposed now on the Kings, you know. So I think that it is kind of mind blowing to me how he still has a job. But hey, like I agree with you, man. If they get rid of him, I think they might have a higher chance, but it's just tough in the West to make the playoffs.
I don't know if you guys saw that thing about Marvin Bagley and his dad too, how he was telling him to trade Marvin Bagley. Who knows how longer he's going to be on the team too.
Right. Man. Yeah, and if Marvin Bagley's demanding trades, De'Aaron Fox is man. Huge.
Before the season started, I had the Kings at like that play-in kind of, 10th, 9th seed fighting for the playoff spot. They have a good roster. They have a not bad roster, but now that Luke Walton, I think they're 5-10 right now. Like, I think it's a coaching that needs to be
done. Definitely.
Or the front office, like Vlade Divac in the front office. They've been known to make some
bad moves. Yeah.
They got Richaun Holmes. That's a good pickup. But Whiteside, who knows what you're going to get with Whiteside for sure.
Yeah, and that rookie too, Tyrese Halliburton, Haleburton. I don't know how you pronounce it, but
he's balling.
He's a solid player too. He's solid for sure. So that's so that they got the pieces to be doing something, but it's just that the coaching isn't there.
Consider Marvin Bagley a bust at this point compared to his draft class?
I don't think so yet because he's just been injured. I think that it's tough to say he hasn't done what we expected him to, especially because I think he got taken in front of both Luka and Trey. But he's been injured, so it's kind of tough to see.
He's definitely been letting me down. When Marvin Bagley's rookie class came in, I had him as rookie of the year. You look at him, he has that Kevin Durant type body. You know what I'm saying? He could shoot, he could stretch it out. He's really the stretch four. And I really had him as that rookie of the year. But so he's been letting me down. So I think AJ, I would give him that bust title, to be honest with you. I really do think I would.
I think it might be due to him being in Sacramento. Like Sacramento hasn't been known to develop players really well. So
right.
IT got way better when he left. Hassan Whiteside got way better when he left. DeMarcus Cousins, I mean, he had his shine. I mean, he's just been hurt, but he was shining over there in Sac. But
he was nice. DeMarcus Cousins was nice in New Orleans too before he got hurt. Like he was still putting up some nice numbers in New Orleans before the injury.
Definitely. All right, moving on to the 13th seed, man. I got the San Antonio Spurs, and the reason why I had them here is that this is another team that like they're great. Like I mean, they're not great. They have good players. They have great players. I would consider DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge great players, but they don't have nobody around them and like enough players around them to be able to make to be able to make the playoffs. Like if you put the Spurs roster in the Eastern Conference, they definitely make the playoffs. They definitely are a top 7 seed. In my eyes, they're a top 7 seed. But you leave them in the West and just with only DeMar and LaMarcus Aldridge and all these like really no names, like nobody's really living up to their hype. DeJounte Murray's not living up to his hype. Derek White lived up to his hype only his rookie year. Lonnie Walker needs to get it together. So like all these players that like for them to make the playoffs, all three of those players need to take a huge step up. And as of right now, like I don't see it for the Spurs, man. And I feel bad because like they're a classic winning team. They've been in the playoffs year after year after year, but right now they're in like they need to just rebuild because they're in that middle stage. You know what I'm saying? And I think they need to rebuild to be like a Thunder type team right now. How you guys feel about the Spurs?
I don't think I've ever seen Pop do a rebuild team. He's always been in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see how, with like LaMarcus Aldridge at his age, DeMar DeRozan, and the young guys, how they turn that into a rebuilding team, or if they're going to be like in that middle kind of purgatory, 10 through 14th kind of seed.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I got them at 13th as well, so it's funny we got the same list so far. But I wouldn't go as far to say that they make the playoffs in the East. I'm not so confident in that just yet. I think that they just don't have the roster to be doing much. Their roster is mostly old, to be honest, and the West is tough, so there's not much to do there. DeRozan's at 20 points a game, Aldridge's at 15. That's just not enough for them to get it done, and I just don't have them really just last in the West just because, DeRozan and Aldridge aren't who they used to be, but they're not scrubs either, and Popovich is good enough coach to not let his team fall to last. So, but I don't think they're going to skip the playoffs this year. So when I was talking about tiers, when we were talking about OKC, I said that 13 to 15 tier, it's those three teams, Spurs, Kings, and OKC. I think you could see them move in kind of any direction. I think they're just that bottom tier of the West. You have the Spurs at 13th as well, AJ?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad we agree on that one. So moving on to the 12th seed, man.
I know we're not going to agree on this one. This one's going to be controversial, I think.
And so moving on to the 12th seed, man. So a couple of days ago, I would have not had this team the 12th seed, but I had to put them here, man. I'm going with the Houston Rockets, man. I got to go with the Houston Rockets. And let me tell you why. For the past 7 years, the Rockets has been James Harden's team. You go look on Basketball Reference for the past 7 years, James Harden has took either like 25 or more shots a game. So the team's offense has been solely relying on James Harden. Now he's gone. Their 2 star players, DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, both coming back from huge injuries. John Wall doesn't look too bad. I really thought he was going to be a lot worse than he's looking.
You wouldn't consider Christian Wood? I
wouldn't consider Christian Wood. Not yet. I'm gonna get there. So then, and the third best player on that team now, I would consider Victor Oladipo, also coming back from injury. So they got their 3 best players, in my opinion, all coming back from injury. Maybe because they're all hurt, maybe I could throw Christian Wood in there, but I think Christian Wood and this team together needs like another year or 2 to gel, man. Because you talk about DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, Victor Oladipo, that sounds like a good team, but all coming back from injuries, all first year playing together. I mean, except John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, I know they played better into Kentucky in college, but man, I'm sad to put them here because the Houston Rockets have been in the playoffs past couple of years, but I had to go with the 12th seed, man. How you guys feeling about the 12th seed?
Man, I thought it was going to be a controversial pick that I was going to put the Rockets in 12, but it looks like it's not because I got them there as well. Like you said, I mean, you hit on most of the points. Losing Harden is going to hurt him, and it doesn't really seem like Oladipo wanted to be there either. Supposedly he was trying to get to Miami. Boogie can't act right. He's still getting teed up every other game, right, which is going to add up into suspensions. John Wall and Christian would have been solid, and Wall's put up 19 points a game, which is actually more than I expected from him, but also because I expected him to be sharing the ball with Harden. But now that Harden is gone, I do expect that to go up. But honestly, I think it's kind of crazy, though, because he got out of Washington, right? And I think he's almost in arguably a worse situation with the Rockets in a tougher division, right? Like I think he might have had a better time on the Wizards with Beal than on the Rockets with really nobody aside from maybe Christian Wood. But I know you can't compare Beal and Wood; they're completely two different type of players. But like if you just say you only get to choose one, everybody's taking Beal, right? But on the other hand, I also kind of feel like that's kind of what he gets for doing Beal like he did, just kind of leaving him over there.
Man.
And I think that, like we're talking about tiers in the past, I think the seats 10 through 12 in my list are they're interchangeable, but I think the Rockets get that 12 seed in my opinion. Who you got, AJ?
I have a little bit more faith in the Rockets just on paper. I think getting Oladipo back for Harden is not ideal, but it's something.
Right.
I think Wood with 24 points a game, 10 rebounds. I think he is a bright spot for them. I don't think they're going to be that low in my opinion. So for my 12th, I have the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
I think there's no timetable, I don't think, on Jaren Jackson's return, which is a tough blow. I think they just have like John Morant. I think he can only do so much. They have a lot of young guys on their team. So I think that Memphis will be in that kind of 10-12 range. I have them at 12 right now.
Okay.
That's a solid. They're in my 10 to 12. I'll say that. I won't say if they're 10th or 11, but I'll say they're in my 10 to 12. So that's a good range for sure.
Okay, so I mean, we talking about the Grizzlies. Let me move on to my 11th seed. I got the Grizzlies, man, and I really, really, really want to be a glasses half full type person with the Grizzlies. But because of the success that they had like last year in the playing games, even without Jaren, and because honestly, I like watching the Grizzlies. They're a fun young team to watch, but I got to emphasize the fact that they're young. Like John Morant, Jaren Jackson, 21, both 21. Next best player, Dylan Brooks, 24. So they're just insanely young. And just how AJ mentioned, Jaren Jackson has no timetable on his return. And with the West being as packed as it is, they're going to get off to a slow start without Jaren Jackson. And I don't know if they can, catch up because in the NBA, it's hard to play that catch up game, especially in the Western Conference. And especially if you're a young team, not experienced. So it's going to be very, very hard. If Jaren Jackson misses, if he misses a couple more games, it's going to be hard for them to be able to catch up if they start with the losing record. But how are you guys feeling about the 11th seed?
Man, finally we don't agree on one. So I got the Wolves in 11, actually. I think that the Wolves, they have not been so good so far, but they've missed Karl-Anthony Towns for a lot of games already this season. And now that he's out with COVID, it's going to hurt him even more, actually, because like you said, it's hard to play catch-up in the Western Conference. So I think that they have just a slightly better roster than the team that I have in 10th. But Cat, I think just missing a huge piece like Cat is going to make a difference, right? They have the manpower to knock on the door of the playoffs with Cat and D'Lo. So I think they're just going to have to just string together enough wins. But with the West the way it is, I think they'll come up short. And D'Lo's at 21 points a game, 3 rebounds and 6 assists. So he's going to need to step it up if they're going to make it in the playoffs. Like he's going to have to be putting up over 25, closer to 30 to be honest. And Cat's at 22 points, 13 rebounds, which is good, but those are good numbers, those are solid numbers. But he's going to need to do more. He's going to have to put up also over 25 and probably over 15 boards for them to make the West. But that's crazy. But that just shows how the West is just stacked.
Which just to respond to you, Jenner, which I believe he can do, which I believe Cat can do. Like as we mentioned on that last episode, if you guys ain't heard that, those top 10 players under 25, y'all go tune into that episode. We talked about Cat, and Cat every single year, man, has been putting up 25 plus in a double every single year since his rookie year, man. So it isn't too far fetched for me. And you know what? I'm not gonna give away where I got the Wolves. But maybe I think either y'all sleeping on the Wolves or I'm a little bit too optimistic on the Wolves, man. Yeah. But go ahead, AJ, talk to me about your 11th.
For my 11th, I have the Pelicans.
Ooh.
I think that, I'm glad that Alvin Gentry's out there that got off a coach. They have Stan Van Gundy now, so that's a little bit better. But I think their defense really took a hit, especially with the loss of Drew Holiday. Man. I think Eric Bledsoe is not Drew Holiday.
Not at all.
I mean, they have Zion. Zion is going to be Zion. But other than that, Steven Adams is cool. but I think that's where their defense really takes a hit. I think they're going to be in that group of that 10, 11 kind of range. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, especially they also have a young team as well. I just think the Pelicans, they need also more time to figure it out. They need some chemistry issues, and it's just I don't see them as a playoff team, especially in the West.
So I'm gonna sound like a Lakers homer here, but I think Lonzo Ball is a good defender. Like I think he's a solid defender. He's an underrated defender that I think could be a valuable piece to any team as basically a backup guard defender.
Mhm.
That's
Definitely. And AJ, I'm actually happy that you had the Pelicans that low because I had the Pelicans in my 10th seed and I when I was writing this list, I was like, man, like, am I being a hater? Like, am I hating? Or because they got a good team, you know what I'm saying? The BI is a great player, man. He has blossomed into an all-star. Zion, great potential, you know what I'm saying? Great body. He has a potential to either be a great player or at the least be a great offensive rebounder, high flyer, right? But I have the Pelicans, like I mentioned, at the 10th seed. But so the games that I've seen, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna act like I've seen every Pelicans games this season. But the games that I have watched for the Pelicans, they need more offense than just BI or Zion initiating the offense. Because the games that I've watched, this is what happens. It comes down court. BI runs an isolation. If he misses, it's just kind of scramble ball to figure it out. Steven Adams gets a putback, or Zion has a mismatch because Zion, he draws there's a lot of teams in the league where he has a mismatch, too strong, too fast, too big for a lot of players. And so that's usually what they run is they run either the Zion Williamson mismatch or BI isolation. And in the packed West, and I feel like we're only in the 10th seed and we've talked about how packed the West is already, but man, like in the packed West, that's not going to cut it. That's not enough. And I think that Lonzo's good. He's going to help. He's going to help provide a lot more for that offense, pushing the ball up court. But just how AJ mentioned, losing Drew Holiday, that hurt offensively and defensively, man. The man was shooting like 36% from three and was one of the best guard defenders in the league, matched up with how Junior mentioned Alonzo, another great guard defender. So I think that hurts him. Losing Drew hurts him tremendously, which is why I have him in my 10th seed. Who you guys have for the 10th seed?
Man, for my 10th, I got the Grizzlies coming in actually. So I think that they got a nice young core, and I think they could get things going in the West, but it's just a little too stacked for them to get in. I think in the East, now this is where I draw that line. In the East, they get in, no doubt. Like, I think Ja's at 26 points a game. Triple J's yet to play this season, but more on that in a bit. Dylan Brooks is at 17 points a game, which is nice, but it's something just about the way they play. It's like that whole grit and grind. It's a past era for them, but they still kind of play that style, And like I watched their games against the Lakers, and they lost all three of their games, but they were so close. And that's against, arguably the best team in the league. So they made all those games close. They got good chemistry. They play tough. It's just not enough to make the playoffs, in my opinion. And Triple J, because I know we were talking about that as a negative point for the Pelicans. And yes, while it does hurt them, they played well in the bubble without Triple J. So I think they're continuing to do that. Like right now they're in 7th, right? They're in 7th of the West. And I know it's relatively early in the season, but now it's the point where standings kind of start to take shape and we start seeing, the cream rise into the top a little bit more. And the Grizzlies are in 7th, but they're really one win away from being tied for 5th. You know what I mean? So it's I think that they have a good team. It's just not enough to make the West, but it's tough. I mean, I think that they fall in that 10 to 12 seed, but I think they're at the top of that. So that's who I got for 10. What about you, AJ?
This is where I have the Thunder.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. Wow.
Okay.
That's okay. I want to hear why.
I have some faith in that.
I just think the Thunder, like, even without CP3, I think that with their defense and with SGA, I think I have faith in them going to the 10th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. All right. So AJ, before I move on to this next one, I gotta ask you a question. I see that little poster in the back, the authentic fan. Are you a Warriors fan?
Oh, die hard, bro. Die hard.
Oh man, then you're not gonna like who I got in the 9th place, man. I have the Warriors in the 9th place. But check this out. Before you lose it, let me talk to you before you listen. Let me talk to you, man. So this season, I understand that Klay Thompson is out, but this season is proving that the Warriors and I've been saying this, absolutely needed Kevin Durant to do everything that they did. I understand that Klay Thompson is out, but even with Klay Thompson out, even with Klay Thompson out, if you were to put him back in, I do not have because of how packed the West is. I do not have him. If Klay Thompson came back in today or played all season, I would not have him in a top 5 seed. They would be my 6th seed, even with Klay Thompson back. And let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you the biggest reason why I got that, and that is because the Warriors don't have a big. And if you look at all dominant teams right now, what do they have? A solid dominant big, whether it's a stretch 5, stretch 4. All of the Bucks, the Lakers, the Nuggets, right? They all have dominant bigs. And Wiseman, man, don't get me wrong, I love Wiseman. I've been saying this from the rip. I think Wiseman has AD potential, man. He is scary nice, right? But the problem is the man is 19 years old, and in a playoff game, in one game, he could do it. But we're talking playoffs. When you're seeing a team in a 7-game series, and I get to study you, and I get to sit down and see everything you do, I don't know. I think Wiseman will get exposed. Like, I understand that the Warriors beat the Lakers the other night, but if you look at it, Wiseman was fouled out by the third quarter. He had like 5 fouls in the third quarter, and that's because AD was able to expose him. I understand, of course, AD's much better. Wiseman does have that potential, but my biggest reason I have him at the 9th is they have no center in the dominant center league. Like, you need a dominant big. But I see you fiending to talk, AJ. Go ahead.
I'm gonna let you go ahead, AJ. I gotta hear that rebuttal.
I think with Klay back, you don't need Wiseman to be all that. Like, yeah, you have dominant bigs, so you're gonna give up some rebounds and give up some defense. But I think Wiseman, you don't need him to be dominant. Like, yeah, you're gonna throw him into the fire. But I'm saying if we had Klay back this season, I think I have faith that we could be a top 5 team, because right now we're 5th. We're 8-6 right now. I think a lot of that relies on not just the starting 5 but the bench. If the bench shows out, then we'll have a good game. I think you have a point that we don't have a dominant big, but even when we won that first championship, we didn't really have a dominant big either. Without Kevin Durant, we didn't have a dominant big. We had like Andrew Bogut. I mean, I wouldn't say he's AD. But I think without Klay, I think just judging how they've looked the past couple of games, if Oubre turns it on, if Oubre finds something, I'm not saying he's going to be Klay Thompson, but if Oubre can keep it up, if our bench keeps playing it like it does, right now we're on a 2-game winning streak. But I think that the Warriors will be in the playoffs.
So you got him in the playoffs, okay?
Got him in the playoffs,
yeah.
Okay. But who do you, AJ? Just go ahead and tell me who you got in your 9th as well.
For my 9th, I have the Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns.
Wow. Yeah, it's in the playoffs. Okay.
I think even with CP3, I think that's a big boost. I think they are gelling together with Booker and Ayton. That's a great core. I think a lot of it depends on the rest of the supporting cast, like Bridges, Javon Carter, their bench.
Jay Crowder.
That was a nice pickup as well. But I think the Suns will be in that play-in tournament, is what I believe.
Wow, but they're 4th right now in the West.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Oh, wow. I have them in a little higher, but I actually have somebody, you guys are probably going to be shocked who I have missing the playoffs, but this was tough. I know I'm going to catch heat for this, but I think the Blazers are going to find a way to miss the playoffs. Or again, that 9th seed.
Stop it.
The Blazers.
Stop it.
Yes,
Stop
yes.
it.
Dame and CJ are nice, but they lost rim protection in Whiteside. I know they have Nurkic back, but he's not the same type of rim protector like Whiteside. Both Dame and CJ are averaging 28 points per game each, which is extremely solid. But CJ just sprained his foot. And for a team like the Blazers, every game is going to count, so he can't be out for very long. Melo's there too. He's solid and dependable. I get it. And it's funny actually because everyone stayed away from him when he was a vet, when he was a free agent, and now he's emerged as a solid vet. But it's tough having them miss the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I just think they're going to find a way to do it. Again, I think they're in that 7 and 9 category. I have the 7 and 9 category, like all separated by maybe a game and a half.
You think Damian Lillard is going to let that happen though?
I think he's going to let that happen. I think it's just the West is just so packed The West is so packed,
I
and
think I
go
wouldn't
ahead.
have agreed with you, but now that both Nurkic and CJ are out, that's a tough hit. Like every game is gonna matter, and Dame is gonna have to put up like 50 a night to carry this team.
Right, and
So
it's
I
gonna
And we
pile
saw
up.
he can do that. He can
We
do that.
But
do
we
that.
saw this happen again. You know what we saw this happen when Kobe tore his Achilles? He was putting up because everybody was injured and he was out there putting up 48 minutes a game and it wasn't working out. And I actually did think they actually did make the playoffs this year. That year they got swept in the first round. They did make the playoffs, but I think it's just going to be a little tough this season. I think it's just too many variables. It's close. Like I said, they're in that 7-9 range. But between the 7 and 9, I just had to put them in ninth, you know. But it's close. The team that I put in eighth, I mean, it's about it's the closest like two teams I have in my list. But I just think that with their players missing games like this, when every game counts, it's just going to be a little tough to make up that ground.
All right, all right. All right, y'all. So now we are moving on to the eighth seed, man. And like I said, maybe y'all sleeping on the Wolves, or I'm a little bit too optimistic, but I got the Wolves in the eighth seed, man. And
Wow.
the reason why I got them here is the individual talent of Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell. Like that's what got them here for me. I think adding Ricky Rubio was a great pickup for them because that's going to allow D'Lo, like how Junior mentioned on the last podcast, that's going to allow D'Lo to play a lot more two guard, to play a lot more off the ball, and that's where I feel like D'Lo will thrive, and he'll really find his success. And like how AJ mentioned earlier as well, Anthony Edwards, he's playing great. You know, the games that I've been watching for the Wolves, he attacks the hoop like a 30-year player. Like he don't play like no rookie, man. Like I actually really like Edwards, but the biggest factor for me and the reason why I have him here in the A seed is not because of none of those players I listed. It's actually Malik Beasley, man. Malik Beasley, if he can have a great season, right now he's averaging 20 points per game, 2 assists, 4 rebounds, shooting 44% from the field and 38% from three. So if he can have a great season where he's putting up 20 plus and he can give the Wolves a third scoring option besides Cat and besides D'Lo, man, I think that they could definitely get in there. You know what I'm saying? And the role players are gonna have to play big. But of course, you know, the bulk of the minutes are definitely gonna have to come from D'Lo and Cat. But like how I mentioned earlier, Cat and D'Lo, you know, they've proven they could do this, man. So I got the Wolves in the AC, man. Talk to me, y'all. How y'all feeling about the AC?
Man, I got actually. So it's funny you talking about how you got the Wolves just manpower gets them in the AC. That's why I got the Pelicans in eighth. It was tough to pick them over the Blazers, but I had to go with the Pelicans. I just think that they have a better 1 through 5. You know, when we're looking at all the positions, obviously not better guards, but I think then you're looking at the forwards and the center, and I actually would go ahead and go with the Pelicans. Uh, obviously, the Blazers have the better individual player. I don't want to overlook that because Dave's just so much better than any player on the Pelicans. But look at Bi. He's the type of player that seems like he keeps improving. He's got virtually the same points per game as last year, but now he's got more rebounds, more assists, and more blocks. Zion's going to get to play more than 19 games this season, so he's going to get more, just more experience and more exposure out there. Lonzo's got more experience and he's putting up more points this season. JJ Redick looked automatic against the Lakers, so they're going to have, that type of reliable shooting. And I think Steven Adams provides them better rim protection that they had and better defense that they had before. And he's putting up 10 points and 9 rebounds. The points are not very, not very good, but he's almost a double-double. It's the lowest type of double-double you can have, 10 and 10. But still, that's solid production that you're going to be able to get from your big men. So that's why I got the Pelicans in eighth. What about you, AJ? Who you got for eighth?
I got the Blazers, and I think I should have updated this after Nurkic and CJ got out. But I think with Damian being number 3 in scoring, I think that's only going to go up with CJ out now. Like, yeah, he has a bigger load, but I think with Melo playing well, Robert Covington playing well, there's going to be the emergence of Nasir Little, some other bench players. I think they could, the same spot they were in last year with that playing tournament with the 8th seed. I think they could crack that again. I think off the pure manpower of Damian Lillard's scoring, I think their defense definitely took a hit, but I think that they're going to be fine offensively. I think they're going to be the 8th seed for sure.
Okay, I feel that. And Junior, to add to your point, you were talking about Steven Adams. I think another thing Steven Adams does that does not show up in the stat sheet is like he bothers a lot of shots. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
he won't block it, but he'll get there enough to where like dude got to go sideways a lot or whatever, and then he'll end up missing the shot. And it doesn't go in the stat sheet. And I definitely think that you can only see those things if you're watching the game, man.
I call that the AD effect because actually when I was lobbying for him to get Defensive Player of the Year last year, and this is what I was telling everybody is like, look how much he alters shots, and it's funny because that's what all the players around the league say too. You say, man, when you're playing against certain players, the ADs, the Steven Adams, the big defensive presences, the Giannis's obviously, is it's not just the blocking, it's just like it's the mental and the way you have to just alter your shot into a bad shot, which forces a miss basically. They should find a way to track that somehow, like forced shots, just altered shots, something like that would be interesting to see.
All right. So moving on to the 7th seed, man. I got the Phoenix Suns. And so,
wow,
I wrote on my list. I even wrote here, I could be sleeping on them, but now, my guy AJ told me I'm not. He said AJ had him even lower than the 7th, man. So I'm not. I know I'm not sleeping on him because just the same thing AJ said. I agree with him. I don't see how adding a 35-year-old CP3 takes you from the 10th seed, which is that's what they were last year, to any lower than a 7th seed, man. So that's why this year I got him at a 7th seed. But one thing I do want to mention that, it's now or never for Booker in his playoff chances. He's always had a bad team. He's always had, he's always been struggling, but now for Booker, it's now or okay, he has like more time. Like
I was gonna say never.
No, like if he goes to a different team, I'm sorry, in Phoenix, like if he goes to a different team, of course, right? But it's for Booker and Phoenix and his playoff chances, it's now or never. He has to go, and I think Booker is gonna be like one of those players, like the playoff Rondos, or the before last year, the playoff P's. Last year it was pandemic P, but
way off
I think,
P.
I think that Devin Booker is going to show his who he is in the playoffs if he makes it to the playoffs. And again, this is my 2nd episode in a row where I'm mentioning that Bubble Booker, man. Went crazy last year. I can't get over it. 30 points per game, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 94% from the free throw line, 50% from the field, and 31% from 3. Like he was killing last year, man, in the bubble. And I think that that's exactly what he'll do if he gets to the playoffs. But one thing I do want to mention, I have him in 7th if their season goes perfectly imagined. Like nobody gets hurt like that. No, So if people get hurt and people miss a lot of games, they might mess around and not even make the playoffs, to be honest with you. I definitely like the addition of Jay Crowder and CP, but CP's just old, man. Like how is a 35-year-old CP going to affect that much?
I don't know, because he affects with more than just his play. He's a very smart player. His IQ is crazy. He's a mentor. I think that he affects with more than just his play. I think he's still a very, very solid addition. I mean, that's why you say it's now or never, right? Because CP is only getting older. So I think CP is going to be a solid difference maker. I made the mistake of counting him out last year. I'm not doing it this year, But when you say now or never, though, I do want to know, you mean that if they don't make the playoffs, Booker's getting chased out of Phoenix, or is Booker requesting a trade out of Phoenix?
No, but what I mean is now or never is like this is his best chance in Phoenix to be able to make the playoff team. Because, okay, CP did it last year at 34, but so is C like I don't like you add CP at 36, like I don't think he's gonna be able to do anything. You know what I'm saying? And like and that's what everybody's hanging on to, like, oh, the Suns are gonna make the playoffs because of CP3. The Suns are gonna make playoffs because of CP3. But at 36, that's a little older, like, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I think it's now or never for them to make it.
So here's what I think. I told you this last year. I don't know if you remember we had this conversation. How the Suns are so bad, I don't know. Because they have a good roster. They have solid players. Booker's a solid player. Ayton is a solid player. Those are 2 great players that they have. Not great. They're 2 good players. I think Booker is a star, not a superstar. He's a star in the league. I think Ayton's a great player in the league, but not a star. I don't know how they were not making the playoff. I don't know how they weren't doing better, at least. I think adding CP3 is going to help them a lot. And then, like you said, picking up solid players like Jay Crowder, just basically more role players that are going to be able to kind of fill what they need with solid role players, you know. So I'm surprised that you guys both have them that low. I have them higher. You guys will still see them coming up on my list, and I'll tell you why when we get there. But before I get too far away from the topic, let me get to my 7th seed, and I want to see AJ say so. I'll tell him I got the Warriors in 7th. So I think Steph is Steph. Steph is Steph. That's generational best shooter of all time. But the problem is sometimes they'll give you 62, sometimes he's going to give you 11. And I just don't know what you're going to get from him sometimes. He's usually going to give you a good scoring output. But if he has one of his low games where he's just giving you 11, like it's happened a couple of times, how does a team around him react, right? Like when the best player is playing poorly, you know, is the team going to be able to pick up the slack? And I think without Klay Thompson, they don't have the depth to do it. And so it's just, I think that it's just that level of consistency. I'm not going to go as far as to call Steph Curry inconsistent because that'd just be blasphemous. But I think that his consistency is not what it used to be. Oubre and Wiggins are starting to find their footing. They started the season off pretty awful, but they're starting to find their footing. Oubre played great against the Lakers. I always tell John this, that players decide to have career nights against the Lakers, and it's so frustrating to watch as a Lakers fan. Oubre played great against the Lakers. Wiseman has been solid. I think actually Wiseman was the opposite. He started off the season well, then he kind of regressed in the Lakers game, but it's different. You're not going to go up against Anthony Davis every night. So Wiseman's been solid. Draymond has been good. He's been okay. He's not been what he used to be. He's averaging 4 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. So he's missing triple single still. But he's a very, very good defender still, and he's a smart player. That doesn't go away with time. As you get older, if you're a smart player, you consider knowing where to be, how to coach your own players, and just kind of, you know, be in the right place at the right time. So even without Klay, I can't count the Warriors out of the playoffs just yet. I think if they had Klay, they would probably be hovering around the 4th, 5th seed, in my opinion. But without Klay, I have them, you know, barely getting in the playoffs. I got them in that. Remember, like I said, 7 to 9 was my range. I got the Warriors in 7, just there. So I want to know what you think. Then tell me about your 7th, AJ.
I think I have a little bit more faith in the Warriors. I'm just gonna spoil it. I have them at 6.
Okay.
But I think I get what you're saying, like that they're in that 7 to 9 range. I think Draymond, going to your point about Draymond, he does a lot more than what's in the box score. I think he's a very high IQ player. I think he's a very good leader. He rallies the players. I think you noticed that as soon as Draymond was back, started winning games.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good mentor to Wiseman. Like, yeah, Wiseman hasn't been playing well recently, but that confidence is still there. Like, he got shut down by AD, but that's AD.
Right.
I think the team is starting to come into its own. I get what you're saying. I think for me, like I said, I have them at 6, but for my 7th seed, I have the Spurs.
Actually, oh, wow. Okay. I want to hear why.
I think with all the young players playing well, and with Pop, like Keldon Johnson is playing well. DeJounte Murray is a really solid defender. They have who else do they have? Give me 1 second.
DeJounte Murray, Derek White,
DeMar DeRozan,
DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge are pretty consistent players. I get they didn't make the playoffs last year, but I think that with the emergence of Lonnie Walker, they got a good rookie in Devin Vassell. I think that's a really solid defensive team as well. I have faith that a Pop team could make the 7th seed.
Okay, I like that, AJ. I like
tough
that.
It's tough to count out Pop. That's true. There's certain people in the league that you just can't count out, and Pop's definitely one of them. So,
all right. So my number 6 seed, man. I want to say something before I get to my 6 seed. I had this team in the 4th seed originally, and then I started making my list. I know exactly what you got because I did the same thing. I started writing my reasonings, like going through, really thinking about it, looking at the roster, looking at the numbers. I'm going with the Mavs. I had the Mavs in the 6th seed, man. And the absolute biggest factor determining this is Kristaps Porzingis' health. He only played 4 games this season so far. And again, I'm trying to be a glasses half full type guy with them, y'all. I really, really am. And which is why I'm giving them the 6th seed. Because if he doesn't play, if I'm saying Kristaps isn't going to be healthy, they might be a 6-7 seed, but if he does play and he is healthy and him and Luka are hitting, they really could sneak into the top 5. They really could. So it's like it really is so up and down with the Mavs because of health. And I think that a big thing that helps Luka a lot is the playoff experience he got last year going against the Clippers. Absolutely gave him the work. And I think they would have won if Kristaps would have stayed in and would have played. But so the reason I had to go with the 6 seed, y'all, is because with Luka and KP, they're a playoff team. But without Luka and KP, they might be like the 13th seed. Like if you take them out that team, they might be like a 13th seed. But I do think that adding Josh Richardson and James Johnson makes them a better defensive team, which is what they struggled with most last season. So that's why I went for the 6th seed. And it was tough, y'all. Like I moved him. I first had him in 4, and then I was like, nah. And then I had him in 5, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna leave at 5. Doing my list, I'm like 5, no, 6. How you guys feeling about the 6 seed?
You know what's crazy? Before the season started, before like we knew about Kristaps' injury was like, how long he was out, I had them at 3. Just on paper, I had them at 3. Like with the additions they had with Josh Richardson, with their defense going up, I had them at 3. Like on paper, I thought they were better than the Nuggets.
Man, honestly, you're not like blasphemy wrong for that, bro. Because
yeah,
they proved they could do it.
Crazy, Luka was going crazy in the playoffs.
Man, like, God, tell me, Junior, who you got?
Man, I called it right before you said it. I said I know exactly who you're going to pick, and I had the same deal. I had the Mavericks in 6, and I initially had them in 4th, and I didn't move them to 6 because of them. I moved it because the other teams I think are just better than them. But I have the Mavericks in 6. I think that I'm expecting them. Having them in 6 is actually part of me expecting KP to miss more games. I'm just expecting it to happen at this point. If he plays the rest of the season, they could probably be that 4th or 5th seed. But I think that it's the way just things pan out for Kristaps and for the Mavericks. I got him in 6. Luka is like that. Like he is really like that, but he can't do it all by himself. No one in the league can anymore. You know what I mean? That's just not how the league is set up anymore. So I think that Luka's not going to be able to carry them by himself to a 4th seed. KP has only really played 2 games, but when he played, he's put up 16 points and 7 boards, which is solid. If you can continue to kind of on that upwards trajectory, that's going to be key for them. Luka's at 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists, which is very close to a triple-double, which is just furthermore proves that he is like that.
Hey,
but
the man is 21.
I know.
Come on,
that's
now.
Crazy, man.
That's crazy.
And
that's crazy.
I think honestly, man, like the thing that's tough about the Mavericks is after those 2 players, there's just not much. There's not much. Tim Hardaway Jr. maybe, but he's at 19 points a game, which is respectable for a player of his caliber. But he's a maybe, and after Tim Hardaway Jr. is really absolutely nobody there, right? Like they lost Seth Curry, there's nobody there, and and every time we talk about teams, you got to add the fact that they're in the West, so it's just that much tougher, right? But that's why I got a 6. They're in that. So my next bracket is that 4 to 6 bracket. I think they can all fluctuate, but I got Mavericks in 6. But I want to hear who you got at 6, AJ.
I mean, this might just be a little bit of recency bias, but I got the Warriors.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you can count Steph out. 28, 6 assists a game. I think just they've been playing and clicking really well together as of recently. I think if Oubre and Wiggins can keep it up, I think if Pascal keeps looking like a 6th man of the year, I think the Warriors.
He's solid. I did not know he was that solid of a player until I saw him. He's a solid role player. He's a solid role player.
Big body. He's strong. He's a strong 6th man. I think that just even with the way the team is gelling together and with Steve Kerr not doing these weird ass lineups, I think that the Warriors, if Curry keeps playing like he does, which is a lot to ask, I think we can make 6 seed.
Okay.
That's a solid. Yeah, I mean, I got him in 7, so I'm not very far from where you think. So absolutely, you can never count Steph Curry out. I mean, he's the best shooter of all time for a reason, right? So that's a good shout for sure.
All right, so now we getting to the iffy zone, y'all. We getting to the top five, man. So let me kick off my number 5 seed. I'm going with the Utah Jazz, man. They currently right now have the third best offense in the league, fifth best defense. They lead the league in offensive rebounding. One point that I want to bring up that is great for them is the fact that Mike Conley's actually playing well this year. Mike Conley actually started playing back. Like last year, he played horrific. Jordan Clarkson, as always, man, great off the bench. Last year they finished in 6th seed, and a big reason they finished in the 6th seed is because when Rudy Gobert is off the court, they fall from the fifth best defense to the 8th best defense. But the addition of Derek Favors is going to provide them, it's going to provide them a good defense for when Rudy Gobert is off the court. So, but again, like I've said a million times, it sounds like a broken record. The reason why I only have them at 5th is because the West is so good. These other teams I have above them are just too good, man. Too good. So how you guys feeling about the 5th seed? Talk to me.
Man, I got the Suns in 5th. Yeah. I think, man, they're legit, right? They're legit. Look, they're right now they're 4th. I think that I was gonna say I even have here in my notes. I said I bet John doesn't even have to make it a playoffs. but I think D-Book and Ayton got another year to grow together. Now they're gonna be able to show how they grew. Bubble Booker, like you said, he was crazy, and he's continuing to play well. And I personally think, I know he's 36, but I think adding CP3 was huge. I think it was what they needed. They have a solid point guard, because no matter how old he is, he's a smart player. Like the same thing I was talking about Draymond, how his physical game isn't what it used to be, but he's a smart player. And I think CP3 is the same thing. He's a smart player. And he still has that deadly mid-range, man. CP3 mid-range is something that's going to go down the Hall of Fame by itself. but I said this when I traded down, and I'll say it again. Who's starting more for an NBA? No, I'm kidding. But I did say when the trade went down, the Suns had no excuse not to make the playoffs, and I'm going to stand by that. I think that if the Suns don't make the playoffs, that's a failure in their season in my eyes. I think CP3 is going to, add that veteran leadership and a true point guard to help Steve D-Book. No excuse not to make the playoffs, in my opinion.
The Suns are what, 4th? The
Suns are what, 3rd,
4th. I don't know what it is. I think every season the Suns start out really well, and then they just kind of flatline. I feel like it's a trend. Like every season we're talking about the Suns like starting out really well, and then they just kind of barely get into that 8th seed. But I think that this is a good sign. This is a good step. For my, what are we at, 5 right now?
We're 5 right now, yeah.
5, I have the Mavericks. I think this is a lot of it is banking on Kristaps' health. But when he's been playing, he's been solid. He's putting like 20 points a game. He's been pretty solid. But a lot of this is banking on Kristaps' health. If he keeps it somewhat consistent. I think Luka has been amazing though. I think Tim Hardaway, Josh Richardson, Jalen Brunson, they're all coming into their own. I think with Rick Carlisle, they could be 5. That's what I think.
Okay.
I don't know if I have the Suns that high. I don't know.
I think I'm the only one.
I don't know if I can. I don't know either, AJ. I feel you on that. All right. So before I say my number 14, I also, like AJ, should have updated this when I heard of the Yusuf Nurkic injury. But in my number 4th seed, I got the Blazers, man. And with that full healthy team, like if you put Nurkic back in there, put CJ back in there, I'm confidently done with the 4th seed. If Nurkic plays all season, if CJ plays all season, we know what CJ could do. We know what Dame could do. You put Nurkic in there. Zach Collins he's set to return soon from his ankle injury. Bringing in Robert Covington gives them another great 3-and-D player. My favorite player, Junior already knows what I'm going to say, Enes Kanter. That's my guy, man. He's major slept on. Enes Kanter is major slept on. I'm happy he's back on the Portland Trail Blazers, doing his thing. And Derrick Jones Jr., in the beginning of the season, he told the media, he said, I'm really committing myself to offensive rebounding. And that's exactly what he's doing. And he's averaging the most offensive rebounds he ever has in his career. And you add all that on top of what they already have, like they made I understand that they went to the play-in games last season, but they made the playoffs last year and I mean had a hard time facing the Lakers, but made the playoffs last year with that hurt squad. So you give them a healthy squad and a full year to gel, boy, I've definitely got them the 4th seed. But unfortunately, Nurkic and CJ are out now, and like how we said, they drop too many games, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to bounce back from that.
Tough
How
to
you
play
guys feel
catch
about
up in the
fourth seed?
West. I got the Jazz in fourth. I think that they didn't improve much. They didn't improve their roster much. What they had a good team on paper last year, and this year they still do. But now they have more chemistry and more experience. They went to 7 games with the Nuggets, who turned out to be the second best team in the West. And I think Spider's going to take them to the next level. I always say Spider's underrated. Like he's ranked as a very good player, and I still think he's underrated for what he does. I think he's going to take them to the next level this season. And with the rankings the way I have them right now, I have them in fourth. I have the Suns in fifth, and I think that's going to be a great show. I think D-Book versus Spider is going to be everything that Spider versus Murray was and more, because I think D-Book is obviously better between him and Murray. So I think that's going to be like a 2.0 to a classic. So, and also, man, like the Jazz have another player. I obviously, you look at Mitchell and Gobert, but Jordan Clarkson, man, he's putting up 17 points a game. That's a big edge to have another scorer while still having players like Conley, Bogdanovich, and obviously Gobert. So I think they have a solid squad. I think they should be making fourth seed, and I have them in that fourth to sixth range. But I think this one was a little easier to pick a fourth, and then fifth and sixth was a little more jumbled. But I think the Jazz are probably the clear favorites out of there. I think that they make a solid fourth seed in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I had the Jazz at the fourth seed. I think that you guys keep talking about Bubble Booker, but what about Bubble Mitchell? Like Bubble Mitchell,
I know, like 35 points a game.
He put up like 57, and like he's a bucket. He's a bucket. I think the Jazz right now are on a 6-game win streak. They beat the Bucks, they beat the Hawks, the Nuggets, some really solid wins. Mitchell has been really consistent. Clarkson is on my fantasy. He's been a bucket off the bench. I think now they have Bogdanovich back. That's been a great addition as well. Right now they're in the fourth. They're third or fourth, I think, in the standings right now. They're 10-4. But they have a really solid 6-game win streak. I also agree. I think the Jazz will be the fourth seed.
Okay. I respect that. Respect that. All right. So now we get into real uncharted territory, man.
So real quick disclaimer here. I've been giving you guys my brackets. Like I got this from here to here. They can all kind of mix and match. Now there's no brackets. Now I think it's three. Like these 3 teams, they're each in a little bit island of their own. Like I think 3, it's not really messing with number 2. 2 is not really messing with number 1. I think they're all isolated now. So I'm done with my bracket.
My question is if we're all going to have the same top 3. I'm curious about that.
I want to see.
I think me and Junior might have the same top 3, to be honest. But
I think so. We definitely have the same number 1, so we're going to find out right now if we have the same top 3 when it's top number 3.
Let's get it. All right, let's get into this, man. So for my number 3, I'm going with the Lake. I'm just kidding. I'm going with the Clippers. I'm going with the Clippers, dog. And they finally seem to be getting it together and playing at the potential that they originally had. Paul George is putting up career highs in assists, in free throw percentage, and 3-point percentage. Right now, he's currently averaging 25 points per game, actually playing very, very aggressively, which I like to see from him. The duo of Kawhi and Paul George is now kind of starting to live up to the hype, that they originally had, because last season was an absolute disgrace for Paul George. He put up career lows in almost every category and choked in the playoffs. And really, to be honest with you, the reason why I have the Clippers there is because the team that I don't want to give away who I have in my second slot, but the team that I have in my second slot, if they lose their star players, they're okay. They're not like screwed. If the Clippers lose Paul George or Kawhi due to injury or their famously known slogan, load management, which we know it's going to happen, like they suck. Who's going to run the ball to offense? Zubac, Patrick Beverly, what I'm saying? Terrence Mann, you know what I'm saying? So I definitely have the Clippers in my third seed, and I want to hear who you guys got in your third seed, man. Talk to me.
Man, I think that one we disagreed. I got the Nuggets in third, actually. So the reason I got them in third, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you why I got the Nuggets in third. It pains me to say this, but the Clippers are looking nice. The Clippers are looking nice, and I mean, they're right now they're sitting with second in the West, right? And the Nuggets are at 10th at 7-7. I get it early in the season, but I got the Nuggets in third. I think they got a dangerous team. Jokic is playing out of his mind right now. He's at 24 points, 11 boards, and 10 assists. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. putting up 20 points again each. And I honestly think that core that wrecked the Clippers and overcame 2-3-1 deficits stayed together, but they lost Jeremy Grant. And I think I'm not gonna say, oh, they lost Jeremy Grant, they're not making the playoffs. But I think that was a big loss, and we're seeing he's balling out in Detroit. So there's trade-offs there, right? They got another year of experience. They have continued to improve, but they lost a player like Jeremy Grant, who's a solid player for them. I think they have a great team, but it's not quite their year. I think LeBron and AD are still too dominant. I think the Nuggets will become more legitimate title contenders in the next year. In the next year or two, they'll probably be legit title contenders. But I think they're just a notch below title contenders for now. They're on their own categories. I don't think they're as good as number 2. But I don't think they're as bad as number 4. I mean, bad, right? And they're all great teams. But that's why I have them just in that third slot right there. But it just I had to do a lot of thinking on it because it kind of hurt me to say this. But I got the Clippers better than the Nuggets. But we'll see where better. What about you, AJ?
I also have the Nuggets at 3. I think Jeremy Grant was a big loss. I think that Jamal Murray, I think he went berserk in the playoffs, but I think he's kind of went down back to earth now. He's only putting up around 20 a game right now. I think Jokic is doing everything he can, but I still think that Jeremy Grant was such a big loss. Defense, he was such a 3-and-D player. I think their defense took a hit. And Michael Porter Jr. has only played 4 games for them because of COVID or something this season. I think that's a big loss as well. I don't think that they can beat the Clippers again, especially if playoff P is not playoff P. I think if he performs like he is now, I don't think they can beat the Clippers. So that's why I have the Nuggets.
But remember, last season in the regular season, he was also real nice. And then came playoff time, every single playoffs.
We're going to wait till the playoffs to see if he can actually not be way off P. But I think Jeremy Grant was a big loss for the Nuggets. I think I have him at 3. I think Jamal Murray, I don't think he'll go back to what he was in the bubble. That's my opinion. Okay.
All right. So now the one everybody's been waiting for, man, the top 2 seeds. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick off my number 2 seed. And it's not too many teams left, man. And we kind of know who number 1 is. So I'm going with the Denver Nuggets, man. And in my opinion, the definition of team ball. We of course understand that Jamal Murray and Jokic are the stars, but when you watch the Nuggets, when they're really clicking, they're really hitting on all cylinders and really dangerous, is when Murray and Jokic are of course hidden, but also when Gary Harris is hidden, when Michael Porter Jr. is hidden, when Will Burton is hidden, when everybody's part of that offense, when it's not just a 2-man offense, that's when the Nuggets are a scary team. And that you're a great team, like a great team ball team. It's kind of hard to say, but when you have weaker players like Isaiah Hartenstein. I've been watching some Nuggets games, and he was a nobody last year on the Rockets, and he's coming off the bench and he's providing them great minutes, great just throwing the lob up to him. Demands a great defensive presence. And again, just like how I mentioned for the Clippers, the reason why I really have him in the second seed over the Clippers is because if one of those players fall, if Murray falls off, or if Jokic falls off, or if Michael Porter Jr. falls off, Gary Harris, there is a next man up mentality, and there's at least a next man up available. And as for the Clippers, if PG falls off, who's next? If Kawhi falls off, you know what I'm saying? It's scary, and the Nuggets have more options as to who is going to be up next and who is going to provide them that scoring or that defense. But I do agree with what both of you guys said. Losing Jeremy Grant hurts, man. Losing Jeremy Grant hurts a lot to them. But like I said, man, that next man up mentality is what's going to give it to them, and the experience that they got going against the Lakers last year in the playoffs is great for them, man. Let's remember that both Murray and Jokic are under 25, and they got that experience against Goat James and Baby Goat AD. So, that's what I got in my second seed, man. Talk to me why I got the Clippers.
I got the Clippers. I think they're a great team on paper. By the way, I love how you just assume I had the Clippers because it's just not the same team as the Lakers. I got the Clippers. I think they got a really good team on paper. I think they got slightly worse in my opinion because they lost Trez. They added Ibaka, but Trez has been the better player between the two this season. Not only eye test wise, but just numbers wise. He's averaging 14 and 7 compared to Ibaka's 12 and 6. Last year, obviously, they fell apart. We don't need to. Well, actually, we do need to talk about it. They fell apart, but I think they got another year of experience under their belt, and I think we're not going to see a meltdown from them again. I mean, I think that was a once in a lifetime type of thing, So share shit, watch the highlights, put it on playback, watch the Clippers. No, I'm just kidding. I just don't think they're beating the Lakers this season. To be completely honest, I think that. Just because I don't think that they're not going to beat the Lakers doesn't mean they're going to have a meltdown. I just believe that the Lakers are a superior team, and they've proven that. But I also think, the Clippers are respectable. It's not a team you could just brush off. The Lakers, I think that they love to get complacent. And I think that's a thing that could easily bite them in the butt against a team like the Clippers. I think the Clippers are in their own category. Like I had explained, I think that 1, 2, and 3 have each their own category, and I do have them, clear of the Nuggets, but I just don't have them quite at number 1. But I want to hear who you got at number 2, AJ.
So I have the Lake. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have the Lakers. I have the Clippers as well. I think, like you said, they're in their own island above the Nuggets. I think Paul George is playing with a chip on his shoulder. Well, it's not the playoffs yet. We'll wait and see how he performs and they perform then. But right now, his shooting percentages are career high. He's shooting 50, 50, 90. And he's becoming a little bit of a playmaker. He's got 6 assists this season, 25.6 assists. So I think PG is coming into his own now. I think he heard the playoff slander. He heard the playoff P jokes and everything. And I think that if PG is off, Kawhi is pretty consistent as well. But I think they're number 2 because in a 7-game series, like Trez was a big loss for them too. Like Ibaka is nice, but he's not Trez. And in a 7-game series, I don't see who could beat the Lakers in the West in a 7-game series. I don't think anyone is beating the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. It's tough, but I guess that transitions well into our number 1. It seems like we all have the same number 1.
Except the Warriors last game, of course. They just beat the Lakers.
I want to find that ref on the street, man. That one who let Draymond travel all the way to the Caribbean. Cause man, I gotta give it to the Warriors. Man. They played hard. I mean, they really clawed. They were down by I think 19 at one point, and they clawed back. You know what I mean? Obviously, that travel call was big, but it's not. That wasn't a 20-point call. You know what I mean? So I think that. I got to give credit where it's due. They played hard, and it was a good win. It was a good win for sure.
Yeah, it definitely was. As a matter of fact, I watched the game. Like once I already knew the score, I rewatched it. I was like, man, let me see what the Lakers did wrong, so I could find the Lakers' weakness. And they didn't play bad. They had a cool game. They were up coming into the fourth quarter. The Warriors just had a great game. So okay, we got to give them credit, AJ. We got to give them credit, AJ.
I'll take that. That's like our conference final. That's like our championship right there. Man,
I'm hearing it too. I got a lot of homies who are Warriors fans.
Me too.
Ooh, but I said it's cool. It's cool. And I think even in the Warriors 73-9 season, I think the Lakers beat them once or twice. And I think the Lakers team was garbage that season. So I said it's cool. Let's just see what happens in the playoffs. But anyway, all right, man. So let's hear about it, John. Who's your number 1? Surprises.
Man, all right. So for my number 1, I don't think nobody had this. I think this is a hot take. I'm going with the Lakers, man. And we're talking about the number 1 seeded team last year, and they got better. they got better. Like that is a crazy. Their supporting cast got better, and I found the stat, and I want to share this with you guys. So last season, LeBron and AD scored 45% of the Lakers' points, right? And the rest of the team scored 54% of the Lakers' points. This season, LeBron and AD are scoring 40% of the Lakers' points, and the rest of the team is scoring 60% of the Lakers' points. So, like, that's amazing for the Lakers because now, LeBron and AD, they can take more of a rest. You know what I'm saying? They don't got to go as hard every single game. And I know last year that they already had a great supporting cast, but, like, you give them an even better supporting cast. And at times you're like, AD, LeBron, it's okay. You don't got to do this. Just give it to Trez. Trez is literally in the offense. We run plays. No, I'm saying we, but the Lakers run plays for Trez, like initiated all for him. We see Dennis Schroeder is, oh my, I hope the Lakers re-sign him, man, because he is a boy. He is so nice.
I had to say this for a second. The Lakers got Dennis Schroeder for Danny Green and a pick.
So
Rob Pelinka needs a statue outside of Staples Center right now.
Man, so man, to me, it's just looking bad for the rest of the league, man. Because you're talking about the number 1 seed last year gets better, So you give LeBron and AD more of a chance to rest. They don't got to go as hard in the regular season. They got more in the tank for the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy. My Lakers is in the first seed, man. Talk to me, yo.
And you know why people get mad at the Clippers for having their rest and their load managers? Because they don't have a team. Besides Kawhi and PG, they don't have the depth that the Lakers have. You know what I mean? Like, the Lakers have a much better bench than the Clippers do. So I think that, like, Rob Pelinka is the fucking GOAT, like, for real.
Man. Yeah, they need to put his outside of Staples and retire his Blazers in the rafters because that man, he's getting it done. Honestly, I mean, I got the Lakers number 1 too. I don't think it's even close. I think it's just a cut above any other team in the league. They were already this way last year, and they've only gotten better. Trez is having a good start. Dennis the Menace has been crazy. I, again, don't know how he was just cost Danny Green, but somehow he did. KCP has been nice. He went 6 for 8 today. He was 6 for 7 on threes and then went 6 for 8. Eventually, he's been a solid role player. Taylor Horton-Tucker, man. I know John hates this guy. No, he doesn't hate him. I know John just doesn't get on the hype as much as other people, but I think Taylor Horton-Tucker is developing nicely. Caruso continues to improve. He's an underrated player. I mean, it's just this team has really gotten better through player development and through acquisitions. They're right now, as the time of writing and the time of recording, they're undefeated on the road. They're 12-4 in the season. They had the shortest offseason in NBA history at 70 days, and I actually thought that they were going to be taking it slow. Before the season, I thought they were going to be like the 4th seed. No joke. I thought LeBron was out here and going to play maybe 1 or 2 games a month. I thought they were just going to be taking it slow and just really fall. Because, I mean, if there's no fans, it really doesn't matter if you're 1st or 8th, right? There's no fans. And if they do a bubble, there's not going to be any travel either. But, I mean, in a sense, they are taking it slow. But even then, they're still whooping on most people. You know what I mean? So I think that's insane. I think they're far and away my favorites to win it. I called it last year. People thought it was the Clippers was going to win it. I didn't buy into that. I thought it was going to be the Lakers. I told them the Clippers were frauds. They got exposed, and the Lakers won. I'm calling it again this year. Well, not that the Clippers being frauds, but I'm calling the Lakers winning this year. Again, I just think they have the team to do it, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Yeah. As much as it pains me to say this, I have the Lakers.
At least you're honest about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't deny their greatness, like just their depth, like, of course we know LeBron, we know AD, we know what they're going to do every night. LeBron, 36 years old, still a walking triple-double. AD, still one of the best, I think top 5 player without a doubt. Easily. But I think, the development of THT, Kyle Kuzma, they re-signed Markieff Morris, which was big.
For a minimum contract, which actually blows my mind.
He's a solid player.
Definitely worth more than a minimum. Like, I was shocked to be. I thought the Lakers were for sure going to lose him because he was going to want to get paid more. Somehow he gets re-signed for the minimum. That's crazy.
His brother got paid more. I think his brother's Clippers, right? I think.
$64 million over like 3 years or 4 years. That's crazy. And you know that I saw this thing that they said that they share bank accounts. So we got the Clippers. No, the Clippers are basically paying for Marquise too. Woo,
Yeah,
yeah.
like Wes Matthews was a good pickup. Mark Gasol was a nice pickup. Like y'all only got better. The Lakers only got better. I think that in a 7-game series, there's no one that can really match up with even with AD and LeBron out. If they rest or whatever, I think that their bench could definitely is a solid, really deep bench.
Yeah, I think no LeBron and AD. This team might I'm not gonna say guarantee, but even without LeBron and AD, this team might be making the playoffs. Like that's how deep that team is. Like I'm not saying they're gonna win. They'll probably get bounced in the first round. But I'm saying that just that's a testament to how good they are if they can make the playoffs.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
I don't think there's a debate. I don't think there's any debate about the Lakers being number one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I'm curious to see the finals. If theoretically if it ends up being Lakers Nets, that'll be a good one. I still got the Lakers, but that'd be a good primetime basketball to watch.
Definitely, man. AJ, I know I'm happy you were able to admit that, man. The other day I was having when the Warriors beat the Lakers, I was having a conversation with a Warriors fan, and I told them, be honest with me, man. Even if Klay Thompson's back on the team, who do you have in a 7-game series? The man told me Warriors in 6. I almost lost it. I was like, blood, you're not allowed to talk basketball no more.
Listen. Who's stopping AD? Who is stopping AD on our team?
You.
Wiseman is gonna get owned. He's gonna get sunned. Like there's no way.
Thank you, man.
Like I think that game was a testament of our heart and our bench, but that's not gonna happen for 7-6 games. I know that.
It's tough in the series. It's tough in the series for sure.
Like every other game, I have the Lakers. I know I have the Lakers. Like
that's a real basketball fan, man. He got knowledge, man. But that's it, everybody, man. That is our list. Thank y'all for tuning in. AJ, man, you were an absolute great guest, man. We thank you very, very much for coming on, and we're gonna have you we're gonna have you back on real soon, man. We're gonna have you back on real soon. We'll do another list, man. So that's it, everybody. Junior, thank you for coming on as always, man. Any last words?
Appreciate it. No, just thank you for having me. As always, AJ, it was a lot of fun chatting it up with you, getting through this list, and I'm looking forward to the next time we get back together on this.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
It's all good, man. AJ, you got any last words for the fans?
Hey, man, Warriors in 7, bro. We believe. I
don't know. The We Believe season, that's a throwback.
For sure. It was a blast. It was a blast for sure.
Definitely, but man, that's it, y'all. So stay. Go ahead and follow all the Instagrams, y'all. I'm gonna drop AJ's Instagram right there in his little bubble. Y'all go ahead, follow that. I'm gonna drop Junior's Instagram right here in his little bubble, and as always, I'm gonna drop the Clutch Talk Instagram right here. Y'all go follow that, man. That's where we drop episode updates and we drop NBA trivia polls and all of that, man. So stay tuned for more episodes, y'all, and we appreciate everyone tuning in. And that's it, though, y'all. We out here, y'all. Clutch Talk out.